Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, on behalf of your Denver-based podcast crew, we appreciate you joining us for the Friendly Vibes.
Coming to you live from TSS Universidad. It's Top Shelf Studios, and this is Intolerable. I'm Sean Conley, your host. I usually don't really worry about the intros. And today we're going to keep it casual, because I'm here with some old work friends for, what is this? Off the Clock Reunited?
Yeah, I guess.
Something like that. To my left, Teke, the infamous goalie that took slap shots from Austin Matthews.
That's right, yeah.
His earliest appearance, I think, is episode 12 or something. You were one of our earliest, 13 maybe?
Yeah, I don't know the number, but
OG guest.
It was, yeah.
13 would be a lucky one. So
yeah,
we'll shoot for
now
13.
for you to see the whole, Disneyland thing we got going on now.
It's crazy.
Yeah, making strides. And then even more to his left, we've got Ally, the unreleased vaulted ep that never hit the stage.
Oh, yeah.
The three of us recorded an app, and I think it got lost in the nuking of like a memory card issue or something.
Or there was too much drinking. I don't know.
There might have been too much drinking.
There was quite a bit of on an empty stomach, but
Yeah.
And now we serve food usually, but we're again passing on the food today. So
yeah, that policy was rolled out after our.
Yeah. We need food.
We got to cook something for these guests.
Go to your podcast notes. Start need food.
Please bring food.
Yeah.
So how's life treating you guys? Teke, you've been away from our job, so I don't see you every day like I see Ally most days.
I'm hiding. No, it's been good. I just switched jobs, so I was off like in the summer for a couple months.
That's the best time to be off.
Oh, it was great.
Because the kids are off too.
It was great. Whoa.
I know what you're into.
But one of my buddies graduated dental school, and him and two of his, that he graduated to his friends were like, we're going to Europe for graduating.
What?
And four of us were like, we're coming with.
That's so
We're
cool.
tagging along.
So the timing just lined up where you got to just go with all the buddies to Europe. Where in Europe did you get to go?
We started in Ireland, went to London, then down to Spain and did Madrid and Barcelona, and then up to Paris and out.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
What was the favorite, if you had to pick a favorite? I know it's tough on trips like that.
It was for sure Ireland for a couple of us. Ireland was sweet. Maybe it's because it's like the homeland. I'm not even Irish, but my name is. So maybe it's because it's the homeland. But no, it was awesome. We got in and rented cars. And they're on the opposite side of the road, and we made sure they were stick shift, which was just and we drove across the country.
So the clutch,
the first day, the clutch is the same.
So everything's the same feet wise.
Feet wise is the same. Okay. And I said that I was like, if the pedals are different, I'm out.
There's no way.
Hell no.
So tough.
So, but it was fun. It was tough. But we were like, that's the most American thing. We're like, we're flying to your country and we're driving across it in one day. Because
it's
that's just what we do here. Yeah, it's that's my commute to work like this. So, no, Ireland was fun. We drove. The reason why is because the Cliffs of Moher on the other side. Mm-hmm. And then we stopped in Galway for dinner. So we got to be Galway girls and
Galway girls. How cute.
But no, it was fun. And then the most European thing happened. We got back to, this was actually after the second day. We went and saw some cathedrals and went to some pubs. We get back to the hostel and there's blood outside of our hostel. And we're like, what the fuck? There was a stabbing.
Oh my god!
The most.
You're reading about on Twitter all the time. They're not
thing.
really having stabbings all the time in the UK, right? And
Yeah,
you go there for 3 days.
They're like, no, yeah, some kid was stabbed. It was like, god damn, there's a lot of blood too.
Oh no!
Yeesh. It's like, yeah.
Well, they don't have guns, so everybody's got these long, dull knives.
They're just having sword fights.
Literally machetes,
Yeah.
It'd be way more honorable if it was the old duel style. I challenge you.
It would be. And they might have.
In the alley.
Yeah.
With little fencing swords or something. Yeah.
They were running out of Guinness or something, so they had to.
Did you get to go to the Guinness
That's
factory while you were there?
Right?
It was, very worth it. We did go to the Guinness factory. Yeah. And I'm a big, I've always liked stouts. A lot of people this way, so it's not weird, but I do stouts in the winter. And then your lemon beers. And
that's very demure, very mindful.
Very demure, much, yeah. So no, but then not the whole group, but my buddy Jose and his friend, who also graduated dental school, they hopped on the stout train and we did the whole when you chug. They every time you get a beer there, they give you the specific glass for the beer. So whatever beer you order, they have a glass for it. So,
Oh.
but like the shape, so it's like the experience. And the Guinness ones have the Guinness like logo across.
Yeah.
So when you like start out drinking, you try to chug it down to split the G in half. So you try to like, so it's called splitting the G. So we were just slamming Guinnesses trying to split the G,
Oh my
and then
God.
I like
it
that.
was
That's
so
fun.
dude. So Ireland was a blast. It was hard to follow up.
Did you get to do your like face on the Guinness thing or whatever?
We did.
Like,
I have a picture of it.
so silly. Did it work well? Are they getting
It
better
worked
at it?
well.
Okay, because
It
when
worked
I did
well.
it, there was like it seemed like maybe like a 10 to 20. I'm just feeling it out, but there's a miss rate. They didn't have it down where like
Okay.
they all came out reliably perfect.
Yeah, they
And
must have it down now.
I was
or-
like, in 5 years, this is gonna be like.
and it was cool.
That's
it was
sweet.
awesome.
What picture did you choose?
You have to now take the picture there.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
think that might be why, because I was gonna do like
that
my
might have been how it
brothers
was
or
then too. I can't remember.
okay, yeah. So me and my two buddies got in the frame, and then
Nice.
they put that on a beer.
Funny
for us,
face,
so-
serious.
That's awesome.
You got funny face.
We
serious?
just did a like group friend
Yeah.
smiley, because you just put it on there, take a picture of it, drink it,
Yeah.
like whatever. So,
That's cool. They teach you how to pour the Guinness like the proper, correct
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
And, like
which
I guess the taps are like Guinness specific taps too. Also, the Guinness is different in Ireland versus here.
so
They say.
yeah,
Some
yeah.
people say there's this like it's one of those conspiracy
Yeah,
things.
I
right?
give my buddy shit for this, because I was like, he admits this, like it's more his joke honestly, but he'll be like kind of in the like ambiance of like, oh, it's so much better here, and I'm the stout drinker, like I drink
Yeah.
Guinnesses here. I'm like, it's the exact same. The Guinness and him and our other friend there were like, yeah, we'll do the stouts here because you have to. So like, props to them, like, dive into
Hop
the
in.
culture, do it while you're there. But they're like, it's so much better here. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but I was like, no, it's
It's the same.
exact here. So
I remember we had just a long layover in Dublin. We were like, we're gonna see the city, but my two buddies were so tired they just stayed at the airport. So I'm like, fucking,
Yeah.
I want to go to Temple Bar because it's
Yeah.
like supposed to be like Pearl Street in Boulder.
Uh-huh.
So I want to check out the vibes halfway around
Did
the
you go
world.
there?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I'm like with my luggage walking around, just like checking out the vibes.
That's awesome.
I'm in the back of this Irish pub and they're playing the Lumineers. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
basically Boulder.
I flew halfway across the
Basically
country.
Boulder with funny accents.
Yeah.
I flew halfway across the world for the same thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's it.
yeah.
I mean,
One night we did go out in Dublin, and there was a guy with a guitar. He'd play about a minute and a half of like a popular song. Everyone jams out, and just like immediately goes smooth transition into another song. So he was like DJing just Ed Sheeran style, like guitar and singing in a pub.
Oh, wow.
And it
sick.
was like everyone was just going so hard, and it was that was like one of my favorite things of the trip.
I
It
love
was
those
so
kind of
fun.
artists where it's just like this person that's, just goes around these couple of cities or pubs in this one city and is so talented and doesn't care to
Mhm.
make it or whatever, but
Yeah.
like is just sitting here as this
So good.
undiscovered insane talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like you could tell every like fourth or fifth song was an original, like their song, and it fit right in. Like it was like they were just it was so good. But
So very demure, very mindful
very
European
demure,
trip.
very, very mindful. Yeah, so we started there, so it was like started out with a bang, honestly.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then went to London. London was really touristy. We were just like running around seeing everything. It's like I'm glad I saw it all, but it was not enjoyable. Like I
'Cause
did
of
not
the knives.
enjoy because of the knives. A lot of sword
Coming
fights.
after you.
Yeah.
So many sword fights. And then
yeah.
there's people like kind of, Blade running down the cameras in the streets. Too,
Right.
probably.
Yeah. There's
So if you're not being chased by a sword, you're watching someone tear down something else with
the
a
cops
sword.
are chasing people with sticks
Yeah,
everywhere.
these people like swords over here.
Yeah.
Well, they think we like guns, so
We do.
Yeah,
We do.
yeah, we
and
do.
catch that dub.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, text this.
Rock,
So-
rock beat scissors.
No, so London was really touristy, and then because of that we were all so tired. We got to Madrid and like slowed it way down and like vacationed
you
more.
kicked it down into tapas gear.
We did. Holy shit! Do you know
The best.
all the tapas? in
I
the
can't
world.
wait to go. I've never been to Spain, but tapas is
a
like
lot
part
of
of my...
paella.
Oh,
Oh, it was so good.
are you
I've
paella fan?
I've never had paella.
Oh, I feel like you would be a big paella girl.
You think so?
Yeah, you got
Oh
paella
my
vibes
God,
for sure.
Yeah,
I have-
and that's all you would. Once you get it once,
you tasted paella, that's a great point.
Once
Yeah.
you get it once,
You would taste paella and it'd become part of your personality. Just a small little piece of your personality would be paella.
tattoo in the future.
Yeah.
There would definitely-
That is,
It is really good though, for
that
real
is
though. It's so
terrifying thought, frankly. I hate when people like jump onto like certain things and like, this is now who
Yeah.
I am. I don't
Yeah.
want to be the person who's around
Oh my
a particular food group. Like,
Okay, well, let me tell you, if there's a particular food group to jump aboard for your personality, paella is the one.
Oh my God.
It's like rice that's like cooked in
Mhm.
with like tons of herbs and spices, typically like bell
Mhm.
peppers and onions and things like
It's
that.
basically like a rice taco packet from King Soopers.
It's like a
still having a hard time picturing
it's like
it.
No.
a Mediterranean version of Chipotle
Yeah,
with
so
fresh seafood, usually
Mhm.
like mussels, clams,
you can,
shrimps,
you can
whatever.
get the different
whatever.
ones. You can get like a seafood paella or like a chicken
I mean,
or
you should get
whatever.
a
But there's a you should
There's
100%.
a correct paella.
It's like the cast iron, like almost what would be like a cookie skillet would be,
Yeah, we don't-
but a
Mhm.
bigger version. And it's a thin layer of rice, meats, and like it's just like a good rice meat bowl kind of thing with really good seasoning. And
Do I just scream like rice girl or something?
No,
Or-
but like, no, this is just, it's so tasty.
Everyone's a paella.
Oh,
because,
okay,
you know,
alright,
that's why.
You're not a communist last time I checked, so I feel like
That's
you'd
what
like
it is.
paella.
Okay.
Yeah. Scroll
Yeah.
through some of those paella pics.
Paella
Get some paella
pics.
pics. That's just the background of your phone. That's crazy.
That's good. Actually, that's just
Google
my
it.
favorites folder. on my phone.
Honestly, the peas are throwing me off a little bit.
Oh, there
but,
wasn't
you
peas
know.
in ours. They differ. So there's a lot of
There
different
wasn't?
Okay,
ones.
some of these look
We
really
didn't-
good.
Maybe
Yeah.
in some.
Peeless paella,
You know what?
I prefer.
Maybe
but-
some. Peas
It's pretty common.
and corn,
find
it's
peas
like
in your
I can
paella.
do with or without. It's just
Oh,
there. It's
okay.
just there.
See, peas. If it's just pea, like a peas is a side dish growing up, shoot me in the head.
I gotcha.
Like,
Okay.
you know, just put me down.
Yeah.
Like,
Peas
Mom, I don't
seems
need to
like a
live to
really-
Friday. Peas?
Peas seem like a really weird vegetable, just honestly. Like, I don't like even think of peas when I think about
Okay,
vegetables.
Yeah, I'm
I
with
don't,
you.
yeah, yeah.
I like them as an additive. Not like
In what?
Red 40 is my
paella.
favorite
I
additive.
don't know.
Paella.
Like, whatever.
Additive.
Fried
I'll just
rice.
say they're okay.
Yeah.
But I'm like not big into corn because my mom would overuse it growing up.
Fair.
It's like our joke is she'd like make brownies and we're like, we don't want any because there's gonna be corn in it. Like, you know, we're
Yeah, fair
like
enough.
so. But no, I could easily see how peas are in that boat for most people.
yeah, I just
They
yeah,
don't do much.
not a big.
Yeah,
Not a big pea
but
girl,
so
yeah.
so you would love the paella. There's like I don't know.
Paella is
The
good.
food's
And then
incredible.
tapas, like, you know what tapas are?
Yes.
Like
yeah.
a little
Basically
tiny,
appetizers.
Yeah, appetizer.
Yeah.
Aren't they supposed to be like really expensive too?
In Spain, no, typically. Well, it depends
not
where you
in
are.
Spain.
Like,
depends where you. But if you go to like a tapas restaurant here, you're getting like
a meatball
pizza-
for $6.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
There, no, you
Maybe $8. $6 is I undersold. But
Yeah,
inflation, Bidenomics.
Don't hold me accountable for your $8 meatball that you ordered.
Next year it'll be 10.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, anyway, so we went to Spain. Madrid was like relaxing. Barcelona has the beach, so that was also very relaxing and like. Also saw like the cathedral
So
there.
did you go nude beach it up? Is that the where they got the cathedral that's like they've been building this for 2,000 fucking years?
200.
It's unreal.
It's insane.
Just seeing pictures
Oh
of it,
my
I'm
God.
like, holy hell.
They have like it was like something out of Star Wars on the inside. Like that's the best way I can explain it. And it was all like old architect style. So you walk in, it's this huge cathedral, huge like spires that go up.
Mm-hmm.
Cathedral
and-
Gaudi, right?
Yeah,
That's the name of it?
Gaudi's cathedral or whatever. I don't know the actual name of it, but he's the architect.
Oh my god.
But
yeah,
then they
here.
have stained glass.
Look at
So
that.
the stained glass like naturally colors the inside to make it look like it's a rave.
Oh, that's
Insane.
gorgeous.
Oh my god!
It's an engineering feat of
Yeah,
art and man's creation.
yeah.
Could
And
you
it-
imagine
And it's not
going
possible without God.
to a rave? You know what I mean?
Oh my god, that would be.
You know it would never happen
There's a
because it's
reason-
like a church.
Yeah.
But, like,
well, it's
that-
in Barcelona, so don't hold you. It might.
Golly, that's so. I mean,
Rave for
St. Peter's
Jesus.
Basilica in Venice, that was mind-blowing because the entire inside is, what do they call it? I mean, I was losing the word, but where they have little stones, mosaic. It's all mosaic tiled. So there's these massive 100-foot mosaic tile. It's the entire inside.
Oh my god! How old is that one?
I want to go to this one next.
Yeah,
it's on my bucket list.
That one cheated. It's like it's new. You know, like it's they started in like the year 1900, so it's like
that's funny.
They cheated.
They cheated. They're not even done.
Wasn't even around.
Yeah. Loser. Yes, that was cool. And then ended in Paris. The reason we did Paris is just because flights are cheaper to come back from there.
Yeah.
So it's like
Paris sucks, low key.
I heard it was overrated.
I mean, I went there and I was pissed because the Notre Dame had just burned down literally 2 weeks
we saw
before.
it being rebuilt. Yeah.
And so it was like we were so excited. We had studied to see this church, and we can't. Our lessons plans are ruined, man. We were pissed. I was gonna learn about this. I was ready to write my essay.
What am I gonna do now?
What topic am I gonna pick?
This blows.
But we got to go to like another cathedral where there's like it's so Sandy knew about it. That's how you know it's like
okay.
a vibe.
Yeah.
These like 40 foot tall, whatever it is, like stained glass around the entire, like a little tiny one too.
Okay, yeah.
Because Notre Dame had burned down.
Okay.
So they're rebuilding it. You got to go in the structure?
No, you can't go in yet, but you just see them rebuild. It still kind of sucks. Like you just see them rebuilding it. It was cool to see and everything, but so we went around like a lot of Paris. It was kind of quickly becoming like our London trip.
Mm-hmm.
So before we went to the Arch, the like
Arc de Triomphe.
Arc de Triomphe and Eiffel Tower, me and my buddy were like, hey, we're gonna call it, we'll go there tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So he and I went and got a dinner on like all the restaurants like on the street. It's like you sit out on the street kind of, but we got like a nice restaurant there. That was awesome.
That's a
they
vibe,
had amazing
right?
beer.
A European meal on the streets in a major
Paris.
European city. Oh, in Paris especially.
Paris, it's like the architecture's cool, just like every street.
Yeah.
Like every house is like a painting.
And do you know? I did some research about that. Have you read about why that is?
No.
Because when they expanded the city, they had to like fully design out. Whoever the king was at the time was like, he assigned some guy to be in charge of the expansion of Paris. And that guy was like, all right, we're going to do this very systematically. Here's the major roadways. And around this, we're going to have major restrictive changes to what your house has to look like.
Yes, I did.
So you have to change the architecture.
Yeah. Because
everything in the city has to be a vibe.
So they wanted, so every time you turn a corner, it's like very similar look. And it's like, they basically just had a really strict HOA. Like building the city. Which makes it like you can just walk around.
Crazy HOA fees too. The taxes over there, wild.
I can't even imagine like wandering the streets, like being drunk and trying to find my way home, and everything looks the exact same. Like I would get lost.
And it's not a grid system.
No,
you're fucked. You're absolutely.
It's like a flower system, whatever.
Yeah, you just keep hitting the river and being like, it's not on that side of the river, and then you'd go back and like spit out again on the river, and be like, not on that side of the river, and you just like fall asleep with the other homeless people.
At least Venice is like kind of looks like a fish, and there's a river that cuts through the fish, so in your head you can be like, all right, we're in this part of the fish and we walked across the river which cuts through this part of the fish. If we go back over here,
that's like the mountains here. You're hammered enough to know like
there's nothing to go off in Paris except for the major geographical landmarks.
But yeah, so did dinner, and then the next day, or in the middle of the night, we had like our hostel. It was just our group. And it was 5 of us at that point. Two left at Madrid, but
like one room was all you
one
guys?
room, yeah. And I wake up with that like throw up saliva in the bottom of the lip, like under your tongue. You know, when you're about to throw up, it's like coming up there. And I was like, oh shit! I was like, am I actually sick? And I just hear someone in the bathroom like, ooh, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm next.
Your subconscious was like hopping on the train.
So it's pitch black. They get out of there, and I knew my like body had woken up to puke. So I was like, they got out of the bathroom, perfect timing. I was like, okay, roll up, go into the bathroom. Sure enough, like this might be too much, but like both ends. Like,
my god!
I sit down. I'm like, oh, my stomach too. So I like sit down. You know,
the worst.
Let it all out, turn around, let it all out.
Brutal.
I did that for the whole next day, and it ended up being one of the one of our friends was with us. We ended up staying back. I went to France and never saw the Eiffel Tower.
Oh my gosh.
Up close.
So you
up
guys
close.
got food
I saw it.
poisoning
We could see
then.
it from our window, but we got food poisoning. So when we landed, we went and got lunch. And Jose and I, we love to like, you know, when in Rome, like do, you know,
Yeah.
like dive into the culture. So we got lunch, and one of the like top items to order was veal face, like a cow's face.
A baby cow.
If I showed you the picture of what I ate, you might puke too. It was,
Teak.
yeah, it was terrible. And it, like, so Jose didn't get sick. The friend that got sick had some of mine. And this is what we think it was. They're giving us shit for like 3 days earlier. We ate a squid ink paella.
Okay.
But like, it was fine. That was incredible. Cooked well. Like, get out of here. It was this, if you saw it, it was like gray. Like the meat wasn't,
Yeah.
Anyways, this is, so I got that, and that was like, when you go somewhere and dive into the culture, don't dive to the deep end.
Yeah.
Like, dive in and like enjoy it.
Wait a
but
little
like,
bit, yeah.
in your comfort, like get the escargot, like get the local beer. Do not
'Cause it can
eat
throw
the
off your
cow's
whole
face,
trip.
dude.
I mean, that may be karma.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Karma for what?
Baby cow face.
It's a delicacy.
Yeah.
So here's the
cow.
the defense side. I understand the baby cow side. That's already killed for a veal steak. Like that's what it is. And then France, the reason why they have the face on the menu is they try to use like every part of the animal. So they try to eat like everything to not waste.
It's actually a really Native American.
Yeah,
to go about
it's a very respectful
Yeah.
approach to killing a baby cow.
Like if you're gonna have to kill a
Eat
baby
it
cow,
all. It's like someone shooting a deer and not eating it. It's like what was
be
that
like-
for?
it'd be like maybe we'd feel a little different about this conflict in the Middle East if Israel was using every part of the
Every
Gaza.
part.
They're only using some parts.
Yeah.
Shut
That's
up.
pretty bad. That's pretty horrible.
Yeah.
It's just anytime I think of like a baby cow, I think of like a baby Highland cow. You know how
Oh,
cute
those
those
like
are?
Instagram
The
cows.
Yeah, they
shampoo
basically
conditioned.
look like, you know, giant field puppies. Like they're adorable. They're adorable. And so
Their face tastes terrible.
Sure, I'm glad, honestly. I am glad you had a negative experience
So,
with that.
Yeah. So
Save
parasites.
the baby
Yeah.
cows. Save
Yeah.
the baby cows.
So did you were you taken back by any of your experience? Like from your expectation to what you saw?
Driving, it was things like that you hear about growing up and then you finally see. So like driving into Paris from the airport, when I saw the Eiffel Tower, I was like, oh, like there it is, like that's it. So it was things like that. The other thing though is I had been to Italy before and like seen Rome and stuff. So it was eye-opening the very first time going to Europe. You're like, oh, all the history we learn about is like real.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have it.
All
it was
of it?
sorry. It's just like the Colosseum actually stands here.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
so-
it's a thing for real.
yeah. So, but no, it was like, oh, the other side of the world like actually exists.
Yeah, no, I would just be a dickhead.
Yeah, which is your
I
job.
was supposed to do it.
But no, yeah, it's like just stuff like that. Like Cliffs of Moher was really cool.
Do they have a Cliffs of Less, or
Do they have a what?
is it Cliffs of Less, or has that already fallen off into the sea?
That fell off
Okay.
a long time ago. It couldn't hold up.
It's
so dumb.
Such a dumb.
That's
The
such a dad.
I wanted
Such a
to make a joke earlier, and
It's
I was
like-
hoping you mentioned it again. So I could come back
there
to
you
it.
go. Yeah, it's like I'll butcher this, but it's like MOHER, like
Oh,
a
yeah,
name.
okay.
Yeah. But you've seen like Princess Bride.
Yes, that's where it is. Okay.
The cliff of death. I forget what they call it. Where they like climb up the
Oh.
rope, and it's like the.
That's that.
They filmed that at the
let's look
Cliffs
it
of
up.
Moher.
Very
Let's-
cool.
Yeah,
We're gonna look it up because I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's gonna kill me if I can't come up with it.
Yeah, I can't.
Princess
remember the
Bride,
name
great
of it.
movie. I usually don't like
Unbelievable.
movie talk on the pod, but like that's a movie that deserves at least me to talk about for one sentence. Great
Yeah.
movie. Great. Movie.
So you know, like how the kid in the movie is like, I don't want to hear this, Grandpa, blah blah. So my
That's my grandma.
My brother and I go to my grandma's house, and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna throw on this movie, Princess Bride," and we were like, "Ugh, grandma," we like exactly like the kid in the movie,
Yes.
and we're like, "We don't want this," like, she's like, "Okay, we can just watch a little bit," like puts it on, and she's like, "Hey, do you guys want me to turn it off?" And we're like, 15 minutes in, we're like, "No, like we gotta finish this," and it's an unbelievable movie. But
It's Cliffs of Insanity.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the Cliffs of Insanity. That's the Cliffs of Moher. So
Well, that's fantastic.
The more you know.
What a great way to spend like a summer transition between jobs.
it was nice. It was like such a reset because I'd just been grinding like accounting for 4 years straight. Like I didn't take a break between the other two jobs, and like growing up, obviously all of us like going to school. There's always like summer break or like. In the back of my mind, I always thought there was going to be like that. I think like subconsciously, I'm like, no, you're just working till you die.
Yeah.
Like this sucks. So it was a really good reset to just be like, okay, I need to take a breath. And like now I'm ready to dive back in, and I am. But no, it was sweet.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta keep the vigor alive.
Yeah.
It's tough to do if you're just constantly revolving yourself into the ground.
Yeah, it is. How long were you gone for?
It was a 17-day trip.
Nice.
That's
And yeah, and I was like ready to go home, and then like I was like, okay, yeah, like I need Walmart. But no, and then I got sick, and I was like, I'm really ready to be home. And getting sick, if you are to get sick on a trip, the last day, perfect time. Because we were fine on the plane home, so like we were on the plane bathroom. It was just that one day, but no, yeah, it was incredible. I highly recommend.
Yeah.
Did you get to do any dancing with any like Spanish girls? Any highlights of nightlife stuff?
There were highlights of nightlife, but we had a big enough group to where
boys dancing. Or dance with the boys.
Yeah. Well, no, because it was 4 girls, 3 guys.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
So, yeah,
Nice.
no, so it wasn't the boys, but it felt like the boys. We had a very good group. Like we got lucky.
That makes the trip.
Oh my god, yeah. And there was one night in London, we went to this like underground bar, and they had a live band.
Sick.
And they were taking song requests, and I think because they're like a rock band, but they had like 2 sets of they were very versatile.
What you requested?
I didn't request, but someone else requested.
White person?
Yes.
All right. They requested Mr. Brightside.
They played Mr. Brightside, but this isn't what I was going to talk about. Damn it. So there was a lot of old school requests, there was a bunch. Someone wanted to like, I'm certain someone wanted to fuck with them.
Okay.
And requested WAP.
Oh my god.
And so they like pull it out. They're like, someone requested WAP. So here we go. Threw it on the ground, and it was just like a Bob Baker remix of WAP, like heavy guitar, like rock, and then the girl singer just rapped the fuck out of the whole thing, bar for bar, sick. And the place went nuts because we were like, "No way! It's like a rock band." There's like no way. So funny. that was a really fun night. And then the ones in Ireland, like the pubs, are my personal favorite, but it was a good mix, and then. Barcelona was like weird. They had some weird like skinny hole in the wall guitar play and there were clubs too. And then we didn't go out in Paris. Paris was a quick turnaround. So
yeah,
out of both ends.
It was. There was one time. We're not even gonna go there. Okay, yeah. There was one time. There's like it's like a small. The best way I can explain it's like. Our hostel bathroom was like an airplane bathroom or like if you're on an RV, like that kind of bathroom. So the sink is right in front of you sitting on the toilet.
Oh, you're lucky.
I shot into both at the same time on one of them.
So
and it wasn't by
lucky.
choice. I was like, okay, I'll do the same. It was like my 3rd time in the bathroom out of like 7. And I was like, I'll do the same thing. I'll sit down, like I'll blow it out, and then I'll turn around and I'll puke. And I started, and it just came up out of the top at the same time. And I was like, Good thing the sink's there because it was coming up. I got lucky with a shitty situation.
That reminds me of that one scene in Bridesmaids where they're all going in to go try on the dresses for the wedding after they went to that, like, was it Brazilian restaurant or something like that? And they got, have you seen that movie?
I don't think I have.
Oh my God. She's trying to find her wedding dress and all the bridesmaids are trying to find her dress and stuff like that. And they got food poisoning at this hole in the wall, like Brazilian steakhouse, kind of like, I guess it was kind of more of like a knockoff, like Fogo de Chao or whatever.
Rodizio.
Yeah, and they
Texas de Brazil. We can hit all the major brands.
I love them.
Brazilian steakhouses. I think that's all three of them, but
yeah.
And they're going in, and at one point they all start feeling, like really shitty. And the one girl who suggested it, who's like Kristen Wiig's character, she's like trying not to like show that she definitely has food poisoning. and they have like they have these like candied almonds there, right? So she's like, "Oh, you're not feeling sick? So are you?" She's like, "Yeah, actually, I'm hungry. I'm hungry." And so she's like, "Well, have some of these." And she, like, you can see the devastation on her face of like trying to eat these almonds. You have Melissa McCarthy like squatting over a sink in this bridal like thing. And so when you said that, that's what it reminded me. You guys have to watch that movie.
Kristen Wiig's generation of SNL is like the best. That's that's so our funny. Generation or my generation's like cast that was there that made it a hit. But man, that was a good show when they were on. Yeah, and then back to the OG days of the show.
Right. Hard to beat.
It's been rough recently, just to watch them like spend this much money on like a silly little skit about some capitalist kind like Zillow or whatever. Like, not even like there's so much political stuff they could be going for.
Are they trying to like pander? Are they just? I don't know. Well,
I just think like it's like all media where it's like executives don't want to be risky because risk is tough to explain to investors.
You're bored, you're
right, and risk is the only thing that makes art good. So, and so you have art that's really now being run like private equity.
Okay,
you can't run art like private equity.
You have to.
You have to do risks.
Yeah.
You have to say bad words. You have to like go against the grain. They should make fun of both sides right now because there's so much to make fun of on both sides.
It's a shit show.
Well, and I was watching, I don't know if you guys, have you ever seen that show? It's by the same guys who do American Horror Story, but it's called American Crime Story. Mm-hmm. And the first season, they go into the O.J. Simpson case. The second season is like the murder of is it Gianni Versace, and then the last season, the most recent season, is it's called Impeachment. It's all around the impeachment of Bill Clinton and the Monica Lewinsky scandal. And when all of that came out, it was really just trying to shed more light, I think, on Monica and then the other like the Linda Tripp woman and all of that, and kind of like bring some of these facts to the surface. But they were cutting to a ton of SNL skits during that time of what they were like talking about with Bill and Monica, and like it went on for months. That's all they were doing on SNL was cracking jokes about this situation. And I think at some point too, like I think you're probably right on the risk front of watching some of those clips. I'm like, how did they not get so sued? Because some of the stuff they said, some of the things that they were releasing and whatnot were pretty rough.
I don't know. I guess like the only thing holding up art is the parody laws and satire laws in our country. Like if we don't have parody and satire laws, like we're gonna quickly, like the UK now where they're arresting people for memes and stuff. Like
what?
People are getting 2-year sentences for memes posted on Facebook.
What the hell?
In the UK.
That's
pretty
insane.
wild.
Yeah. They need a tea party.
Yeah, I think everybody's just so worried about offending people and the repercussions of that, and
but if you actually talk to people from different groups, what I found is that like people from different groups, like when you really talk to them, they want to make fun of those same things that you're like. Yeah. If you're in one group making fun of it, thinking, okay, it goes outside of my group, the other group might not like it. Well, there's a good chance people in those groups are also making fun of those things even better than you could make fun of those things. Way better.
Yeah.
We were talking about this a couple weeks ago with like what was it? Was it like...
It was around how I was telling you, like, I have 2 aunts that used to be uncles on both sides of my family.
Okay.
And so, like, in stand-up, some people think that, like, if you're going to make a joke about a sensitive thing, you should have a close enough connection to it that you can...
It's like where Shane goes.
Yeah. He can make fun of autistic people until the cows come home because he, can quickly...
His family. Yeah.
I mean, you could think probably capacitast himself.
Right.
Just go to the right doctor. I mean, it's 2024. You can really get a diagnosis for anything.
For him, it's Down syndrome. Yeah.
But either way, I think he can diagnose. But my point I was making is like, well, like, it's not anymore right for me to make a great joke about trans issues just because I have 2 aunts that used to be uncles or whatever versus someone else that writes a good it's the quality of the joke that should be judged.
I hated the like suppression of communication unless you had experience. It's like, why are you gonna deny this person's input? It could help. Like, you just listen to them and then
attack their ideas.
That's how communication works. Yeah. You listen and then you either rebuttal or just listen. That's a concept.
That'll never fucking
No. We're way beyond that now.
Yeah.
But to your point though, I think like comedians who crack jokes about, potentially things that people could be offended about, the ones who do have some sort of relationship to it or some sort of experience with it, they're funnier. They're funny jokes. The people who don't necessarily have it and they try and joke about it, it feels almost forced, and then you're like, ooh.
It's like easier for it to be hack when you don't know the issue.
Yeah.
Like that's why, okay, I'll give you this example. I'm thankful I went to Boulder Public Schools because I speak leftist really well. So when I went to college at a small liberal arts school, I was so well ready to speak leftist. And I knew the fluency and exactly where to tear it down and blah, blah, blah. And I could do the same thing with the right. So it's like, this is a valuable skill set. And the only reason that you can get to that level of maybe shifting someone's view is you have to have a deep understanding of the topic. To get in their shoes, to genuinely be like, all right, let me get in your shoes and your perspective. Here's why you should think differently from that perspective.
Yeah, and that's communication.
And that's what comedy, the whatever universality of, experience that you're trying to get at with, everybody's been to the grocery store and seen this weird thing at the grocery store type of thing.
Yeah.
Or like everyone's, looking around at, trans people and XYZ.
Yeah. That's like I bring this up a lot, but my favorite thing from like Matthew McConaughey's book was he was in Africa, and I might have told you this one, but 2 people were like basically arguing in Africa, and he looks at one of the guys and he's like, I think he's right on this one, and they both were like, no, like no one's right. We argue in Africa to understand each other. And that's like, to your point, you understood like the leftist speak, so you knew where you didn't agree or where you thought it was wrong.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, if you communicate to understand, we could make so much more progress.
And most people would come to realize, and I've gotten this luckily unintentionally through this fucking podcast, is people are way more alike than they are different. Like people that I talked to, a guy that told me a story about, growing up in Philadelphia and his mom went missing, and how each of his sisters and him had gotten enough information, but not all of it, so that if this did happen, they would not turn on each other and they'd come together and help each other with the information. It's like, dude, hearing about this guy's life experience and how he looks at the world, you're more similar to this other person who, if I didn't talk to both of you for a long form conversation, I think you guys are way different. Nope, not the case. Most people are pretty similar.
Yeah.
And they want the same type of like core foundational things. And now we've got all this millions of dollars of interest money in politics, like trying to prove that we're not like this, that we're not people and Americans that are united, which we kind of are.
Yeah.
Well, and I think to go back to your point, and I don't know how you solve this, but I think a lot more time people communicate to be understood versus to understand. And that feels like the major pitfall of communication these days, of like, if you're only hoping that somebody will understand your point of view, it's not even a conversation. You're narrating at that point. But if you're hoping to get out where like maybe they understand a piece of what you're saying, you understand a piece of what they're saying, and like there's commonality there and willingness to see past, you know, your narrow view, that's communicating. What we do now is more like preaching, it almost feels like.
Yeah. Well, the social media like being so foundational to our culture and forms of communication doesn't make things better.
Yeah, fair.
It makes it way worse, I think.
And then if you don't listen and just like preach your thing the whole time, you're stuck doing that for the rest of your life. Like you're stuck here and you just keep repeating this.
Yeah.
Like this 10% of what, you know, on that subject of what's out there. But if you like listen and understand everyone, you start to piece it together almost. And you're like, I see why they're mad, and I see why they're mad, and I see why they don't meet. And it's like, there's not always a solution or like an easy middle ground, but sometimes there is.
Yeah. I like this graph I saw recently of like the path of knowledge, of understanding, and time. So it's like time on this side and like knowledge or understanding. And it's like, you know, slow and steady, and then you go up. And then over time, you eventually start going, you realize that over time, you realize that you know nothing because you do become so knowledgeable that you know, I'm never going to know about this.
That's like
I've did 10,000 hours of happiness economics research, and I came to the conclusion that it was all bullshit, and it should have invalidated 150 pages of research I just did.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, the data doesn't matter, and we shouldn't put subjective measures on this type of thing.
No, that's like a real, not phenomenon, but maybe you could call it a phenomenon where it's like the four like stages of learning something is you're unconsciously unconsciously don't know it. So like you don't even know about a subject. And then you consciously know that you don't know it.
Right.
And the people in the first step think they know more on that thing when they're told about it than the people in the second step. Because when you dive into something, you're like, oh shit, I know nothing about this.
Yeah.
And that so it goes unconsciously incompetent, and a lot of people just preach from there.
Yeah. Most people probably
they don't
just
even
stay there.
take 10 minutes to learn about something. And then it's consciously incompetent, consciously incompetent, or like, and then
unconsciously
competent,
and then consciously competent.
Yeah. Whatever it is, but yeah, I think you had it.
But basically, I totally agree that there's an arc of, you know, the wisdom looks like ignorance when you get to the wisest form. Yeah.
There's along with that, I guess one of the phenomenons that's with it, maybe this is what I was thinking of, is people who have like higher IQs and are smarter think they're not as smart. And then people with like low IQs, like you go out to like a trailer park or, you know.
That's a slur.
It's actually, excuse me, manufactured
you go out
home.
of the South where they're all related, because that's how the South works. No.
Get off my porch!
But you go to...
It's funnier that you have a cane right next to you. It's just like easily accessible.
My grandpa made this cane.
That's a great cane.
Thanks.
That cane is like my height.
Yeah, it's one alley size cane.
Easily up to my nose. Yeah.
Step one of your wizardry path.
Yeah.
But why do you think it's so hard for people to say, like, you know, when they're talking about a subject, of just like simply like, I don't know and I want to learn more? Because you do have, like, going back to what you were saying, the people who kind of stay right here on the unconsciously incompetent.
Yeah.
Why do you have so many people who are happy to stay right here when it would be easier to say, I don't know, but tell me?
Because it's uncomfortable. I think it's because it's like an uncomfortability, or you have to go against the ego.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest thing, is like people... Well, something like, wasn't it 30% of people don't have an internal monologue? So if those people don't have an internal monologue, they don't have enough like competency of complex analysis to be able to even have that happen. Yeah. So you instantly have to throw them into that bucket. And then there's another 30% of people that, out of being soft-minded, willed, etc., won't push into that uncomfortability to challenge that their ideas, thoughts, values might not be the best or what they ultimately want to settle on.
Yeah.
It's tough. I personally fight this all the time. It's tough to try to attack your ideas, thoughts, words. And it's really, really hard over a long run to be overly critical of yourself.
Yeah. I think there's like obviously multiple factors too, because another thing is people love to be a part of something.
Ooh.
And
I think be a part of something, I'd even say. Go further
need to be a part of something, yeah.
They crave it like it's a drug.
Yeah, seriously. So also what we're seeing with like the fall or like the unpopularity of religion is people are taking their spirituality into politics. So they associate themselves with the like leftist or right ideas. And then so their identity that was wrapped up in religious. You're not telling them their idea is wrong. You're telling them their everything they wake up for and live for in the day and go about their day thinking is wrong. So you're telling them as a person is so it's wrong. A direct invalidation of the ego. The ego's all consuming. There's no cognitive dissonance between there. You see this a lot.
So you feel that incompetence.
Yeah. And so you see this exact thing happen when you like have a discussion, put like an atheist with a Christian. the Christian, you're not telling the Christian his ideas are wrong. You're telling him his whole life is wrong. So you come into it's hard to break that down. And maybe they're right. I haven't died yet. So,
well, I don't know. I think too, like from my experience in the church, so I can't say that this is like a solid truth, but what I've seen in the church, it's typically those people who are more surface level that get the most fired up about this, especially like when it comes to politics. And if what you're saying is what they think is contrary to their religion, it may be, what they think is so core to who they are, but they don't really have a deep understanding for it to be core.
That's funny. Exactly what you're saying.
That's funny.
And it's typically those people because, like, I mean, I've had my issues with the church and
why don't you talk
religion.
Like, a little bit about your background, if you wanted to share, so that people could have a little understanding.
Yeah.
They don't know you. Where'd you grow up? Let's start there.
I grew up in Texas. But both my parents my mom was a military brat. My dad he wasn't a military brat, but he ended up going into the military. He grew up as an altar boy.
Gotcha.
And my mom grew up predominantly Southern Baptist.
Okay. So faith was a core tenet in the home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, to the point where like when they would drive us to school, it would be Christian music on in the car. I would have special playlists. I remember this as a kid on my iPod of like stuff that I knew wasn't explicit or like even went into the realm, even if there was no like curse words or anything like that. Something that wasn't necessarily Christian music, but I knew I wouldn't get, I wouldn't get talked to about what I'm listening to. And, I mean, my parents grew up very, very religious. We went to church every Sunday. They did care circle at their house once a week.
What's that?
We did, so I don't know if it's like a Southern thing, but, care circle was essentially where like all of these like parents with young kids would get around and do like a potluck at different people's houses. It would be like on like a Wednesday or even a Sunday night. And they would do kind of like a Bible study. And then they would typically have like the older kids. So it would be my oldest brother and my friend's oldest sister who would do like this little Bible study with all the kids. So like that, all of that stuff was like very constant in my life, to where we at least were doing something like 2 days a week at church. And then whenever I graduated high school, I went to this really small school outside of Austin. My parents had lived in Houston by this point. And I walked onto the softball team, had a really bad traumatic brain injury. And it was right around that time that I ended up coming out. And my parents, they just basically said that they didn't want me at the school I was at the time. And if this was like kind of my decision, because at that time too, I got to cut them a little bit of slack. They truly felt like it was a choice, and didn't understand how it could be anything other than that. So they were like, well, if you want to be a part of this family, you're going to Wheaton College, which is a small liberal arts school, very, very Christian. Or, you know, you can figure it out on your own. And I was 19 at this point, and I had like a really bad brain injury, and I was really fearful. And it's something that I held on to that fear for a very long time. But anyway, I went to Wheaton, had chapel 3 times a week, took 20 credits of theology, even though I was a business econ major. And I think at that time I was really trying to make my faith mine and not my family's faith.
Okay. Was that a fearful process too?
Yeah, I would say so.
That seems like a tough thing to go through.
Yeah, I would say so, just mainly because I knew, like, my mom, her entire bookshelf, I would say like 80% of the books on that shelf, and my mom's a huge reader, were somewhat religiously affiliated. So she had done a lot of in-depth research of what these things meant, like the historical context about it. Like, my mom is not what a lot of people would call a lukewarm Christian. Like, she truly, and it's something I greatly admire about her, but embraces her faith. She reads her Bible every morning. She watches, if she can't get to church on Sunday, she watches it, remotely, even if they're in Saudi Arabia. I mean, they're very dedicated to that, and I've admired that, but I was like, I can't just believe what they're telling me. I do believe what they're telling me, but I need to be able to fight this, myself. So I started doing a lot of research during that time, and I was in a class, it was called Christian Thought, and it was going into like a lot of the history and like the context of certain things at a time. And
I feel like that'd be an easy course to teach, right? If I'm the professor of Christian Thought, just pass out a note card on the first day. Don't think. Have a good summer.
Honestly, kind of, but I think that mentality of saying, okay, like, we're doing like kind of Christian theory, but this is what it's saying, that wasn't wholly acceptable to me at the time. Okay. And I was definitely in like a total rebellion. Anyway, so I was actively trying to pick apart people's arguments. Nice. And I think that was halfway what was driving my, like, I need to figure this out for my own, of like, I don't believe what they're saying. I don't believe that this is like, you're
like, these people are wrong and I'm going to figure it out.
Was it almost like, I'm going to argue against you, please tell me I'm going crazy, and then like no one could?
No one could.
They were like, you're right.
And I took a macro class about MMT, and I was constantly like, what about inflation? We're just going to keep printing money. What about inflation? Nobody ever had an answer.
So turn to chapter 6.
Literally, same exact thing.
Like, we're in academia. Okay, save this for later.
Inflation isn't real, and God is. So shut up and turn to page 16.
God will handle all of these problems. Yeah.
God's fiscal policy, you will deal with.
God will print more.
Yeah, calculus wasn't even calculus. It was like, God will figure out the math. Yeah.
Don't worry about deriving a meaning. God's already done that for you.
2 times 2 can be fish.
You're integral to the Christian faith.
But yeah, and then I started to actually enjoy what I was finding, because some of those things that I was like, this just doesn't seem right, I was actually kind of piecing it together and landing where a lot of these, I would say, maybe lesser known Christian scholars were landing, but it was going all against the status quo. So like, homosexuality has always been something in Christianity that, people have like considered a sin and like against God and everything like that. And Old Testament version, I can see where they see that, but when you look at the context of what it's referring to in the New Testament, particularly in Corinthians, what was going on in Corinth at the time was that these men were having, like, these major officials in Corinth were having physical relationships with a lot of different people. They were having orgies. There was pedophilia going on. There was so much that was, you know, I could see where they would call it like a sexual sin. And when the Bible was translated into English, what they used for homosexuality, you know, in the original Greek actually translated to pedophilia. And so I started kind of pitching those arguments. Obviously, my Christian thought professor did not like that. And neither did my parents. But like I gave my mom at one point, like, all of this information. I was like, you can decide what you think. And she went through it. And that was around the time that she was like, okay, it's not a choice. So I guess going back to what we were,
a quick aside, Christian professors don't like when you push back, but my pastor loved when I push back.
God.
Oh my God.
Come on, don't leave me hanging. You left me hanging. You're gonna leave me hanging? Okay, there it is. Come on.
But I mean, going back to what we were talking about before is that, like, most of the times, like, the most intense arguers of the Christian faith and, like, the major, talking points, like, particularly for, like, right-wing politics around faith, for the most part, what I've experienced is the most vicious is the wrong word, but, like, vicious arguers for that have the most surface level faith. And then the people who have, like, a deeper level of faith, maybe they don't agree with me, maybe they don't, you know what I mean? But they're able to have those conversations without taking it to the point where their faith is now crumbling at their feet. So,
when you've just got a surface level to the iceberg, the ice breaks up pretty easy.
I played hockey with a kid, and he was like the son of a pastor or whatever, so like he knew his shit really well.
He knew how to push back.
He knew how to push back. We'd sit on the bus, like going wherever, and I remember a couple times we'd have like talks about moral teachings and stuff, and like it was the best conversations I've had with someone who was like in religion, because my theory with the surface level sometimes is like they don't want you to convince them, and they're not too sure, so they just like push back, get angry or whatever. But his faith was so well grounded that we could have great conversations, and I would have questions that wouldn't throw him off. He's like, no, I know this, like, that's like, I love for you, I love to hear your ideas.
Yeah.
Because I have mine, I know mine. But when they don't, and they're just like blindly going to church, and they're like, no, I'm right, but they don't know what they're talking about, and you can easily throw them off, it like pisses them off.
Yeah, and from a biblical perspective, the guy that you were talking about is exactly how it is supposed to go.
Right.
Is like,
right. I believe it.
If the whole thought process is like, you need to evangelize to the nations and everything like that, how the heck are you supposed to do that, successfully, if you don't feel like you know or really have like a solid relationship with God? Because I think you can be a Christian and not have a relationship with God, but you're more of like adopting what you've always been told is true. And I'm not saying it's not. I still at one point I like actively went out and tried to refute all of this. And it's funny, I even had a pastor when I was in college. He was a biology major, and he was a Christian originally. His dad was a pastor. He went to school and he started taking all these biology classes and stuff like that. And for him, he's like, how can I be a Christian scientist? He's like, I can't reconcile these things. And it like, it was eating him alive. He said at the time he was in his, I guess late teens, early 20s. He was an undergrad at the time. And he finally, after months and months and months of struggling with this, he, I guess, was taking this one anatomy course, and they were going over like bones and like muscles and stuff in your hand and how many things have to work right for you to even make a fist.
Yeah.
And like, I guess at that point he was like, there is no way that there isn't a God because of all, like, the body is just miraculous and it shouldn't work like this. It shouldn't have the ability to heal itself. And like, from taking an anatomy class, he still got a biology major. He ended up going to seminary and he's a pastor now.
Right.
But he was kind of able to reconcile his like belief in science and his belief in faith. And I remember hearing that, and it was like kind of the same thing of like, I started looking at those same things he was talking about, and it is a miracle we can make a fist.
Yes.
It's a miracle that we can fight off, you know, and like an infection. It's like, truly.
Those type of faith stories, I think, are the ones that I cling to or am drawn to the most of. I'm an advanced learner in X field, like the neuroscience stories of like, I'm a neuroscientist, and
too.
The fact that we don't understand sleep is way more of an argument for God than anything else. Like the fact that our brains are floating in this wet thing that we don't really even understand how it works, and like really don't fucking know, even though we know more than we ever have before. You know, God has to be real.
Yeah.
I'm like more grounded in my faith knowing more about neuroscience. These types of people, it's like, wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So that's why, like, even though I sometimes, I think I'm still resentful sometimes, but I'm not like in active rebellion anymore. Like, I know what I believe. I'm not always thrilled about it. I know that sounds awful, but like, I know I believe that to be true. I think there's some times that I wish it wasn't, and I know that sounds weird. It's not something I can really wrap my head around right now, but I do believe it. But I also believe that, like, you know, everybody has a different version of that, and I think sometimes, like, maybe if I grew up in the Middle East, I would, you know, maybe do the same type of research and think it's Allah, or, you know what I mean. But like, my upbringing is definitely foundational to it, but making it my own has actually
been a process.
Yeah, it's been a process, but it's actually like allowed me to have these types of conversations without being like that person who's like
strung out, like feeling like you need to be attacking, like you're going on the offensive, like, you know, the other side of that ego coin of like, no, like I need to stand up for my ego by proving these ideas to be like not valid.
Yeah, I need to be a warrior of the faith and never back down and stuff like that. Right. But that's not biblical, frankly. So, but anyway, that's kind of how I feel about, like, especially when it comes to politics, is like, if you don't feel like you have more than the surface level type of faith, why are you using it as a crutch to support your political feelings?
Yes, or dismantling someone else for their being, you know, valid as a person, you know, because they've got political feelings that differ from you.
Yeah.
It's just silly.
So, but, you know.
Well, we're moving into election season. I've got a few in the bank, so this episode's going to be well backlogged of when we record it. So we'll be well into the swing of the election. You know, we'll probably be like a month out of election day. What's going to happen here? What do you think with this craziness? I'm surprised Donald Trump's got great speechwriters. Nobody's come to this line yet, but why doesn't he come out and just goes, comma, chameleon. She's always changing colors, that comma.
It's so good.
It's so good. Why hasn't he done it, right? Like, I mean, I'm not talking about your impression. I'm not a genius. Like, you should have come up with this. Comma, chameleon. Always changing colors, that Kamala.
First of all, that's spot on.
It's perfect. It's
Second
a great
of all,
line. Hire me as a speechwriter, Trump.
I'm not convinced he has said that. I could just play your thing back on repeat, like, this was Trump.
You should get like one of those like AI and just use the sound bit.
Yeah.
It's like...
Well, okay, first of all, comedians are going to love this because Trump, whether you love him or hate him, he is
so much better for comedy if he's in office.
Hilarious.
So much better for comedy.
Did you see the ad he ran? Shit. And it was Kamala being like, inflation's up 50%, housing costs have skyrocketed, taxes have gone up, and it just goes, "I'm Donald Trump. I support this message," and that's his ad. That's he's just funny, dude. I don't care.
Kamala.
You know, we're doing really good as a nation when, you know, our presidential election is resembling a reality TV show. 2016
Also,
and now 2024 version.
They tried so hard. The polling data is finally correcting because, like, you saw this, you know, well, it would have been way better politically strategy wise if Biden stepped down, you know, before the initial debate or whatever and all that. Because for them to undemocratically, after the primaries, say he's stepping down and he was strong-armed by a meeting with Pelosi and Obama, and now Kamala is going to be the nominee.
You just told us who was going to be the nominee. We didn't vote.
And also, so now the polling data was like, you know, they did a really good job of the media, you know, collaborating and getting out the push. And so there was like, you know, about 50-50 in a lot of battleground states. And now it's back to like 8 points. And if the polls are 8 points, okay, good luck stealing or whatever, you know, that many points. You can't bring in mail ballots in the middle of the night or whatever they've alleged with the old election. You can't manipulate that much of a degree. So they better hope that they can get people out to vote and keep this like wave going, because the more she speaks, I mean, she hasn't done Trump sitting down with the Nelk brothers and all these other people for long form, hour-long podcasts where at least Americans can hear him talk for a long and get a sense of him. She has only done one interview. It's been scripted with her VP next to her, you know, holding her hand the whole way with an ABC reporter, and she knows the questions. And even some of those questions she didn't answer and is going around. It's like, if you're running for office in this country, you have to do a 2-hour podcast. You have to do several. You should have to. People need to know and get a real sense of who you are.
Yeah.
The only way to do it is long form. You're not going to get it on a debate stage. You're not going to get any
fully edited,
like completely edited, chopped up interview is not the way to like get I'm an authentic candidate message across to voters. It's just not a good politics.
And you have to appeal to who your voters are too. I mean, like, you're going to have, people have been really on the podcast thing. People are really into different social medias. Like, you have to communicate in the, you know, particular avenues that people are using. How many 20-somethings are you going to have who sit down in front of the TV and watch the debate anymore? We're watching bits by bits on our phone.
Yes.
And
the clips of the debate after the fact.
Yeah. So, you know, whether or not you think it's probably like a good idea or not, you do need to do those types of podcasts, because that's where, you know, particularly, I think your younger generation is really listening to what's going on is when it's presented on those types of medias versus.
And I think this young generation, we can smell bullshit.
Yeah.
So like, and we'd rather someone like be corrupt but authentically corrupt 10% of the time, because we're not going to get 0% corruption. We knew our president did 9/11 when we were 4. So like we paid the Mossad to fly into our own buildings. Like it's crazy. So
I was 5 at the time.
Okay, well, you were a little older. It's one of my first memories. My dad was in the sky in Idaho, and he like tried to fly back here in a little single prop, you know, engine, and did get back here. But yeah, that's one of my first memories. And I thought, you know, we're going to war for good. And then I grew up and read, and it's like, oh no, my goodness, it's corruption on both sides. It's always been corruption on both sides. Okay.
It's not just that.
I just want someone that's going to make me laugh, because it's all evil. It's all going to be evil.
At least you know how some of them are corrupt. Some of them you don't know how they're corrupt.
There you go. That,
I guess, why are you hiding it?
Give me some transparency. Give me, you know, I'll spend my tax dollars on bombs. I'm happy to pay for missiles. I just want to know where the money's going. How many missiles did we buy this year? Tell me. Tell me how many missiles we bought. If you tell me, I'm cool with the missile buying. Okay, keep buying and sending the drones to kill kids. That's cool with me. I just want to know how much it costs and what you spent where. Right? Instead of now, where we give all these contracts to these private companies and corporations that were just created yesterday by the cousin of someone that votes on this committee.
Yeah.
The PPP loans and the fact that like so many people just stole from Americans' pockets. I don't think Americans realize that like when those type of things happen, they're stealing from us.
And we're going to be paying for a long time.
Forever.
Oh my God, was that insane.
And I think that's too, like, I was talking with Dory, I was talking with my mom too about the, what they're trying to do with the capital gains taxes right now. And then I don't know if you heard the story too about how, you know, how there's like this nonpartisan group who reports unemployment numbers. Did you hear about this?
So the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Yeah.
It's a government entity.
Yep.
It's they're funded by taxpayer dollars to report accurate published economic data.
Yeah.
And they've been lying to us for over a year.
Yeah, my mom was so cute. She's like, they're supposed to be nonpartisan. And I have my like tinfoil hat, like beaming. And I'm like, Mom, okay.
Yeah.
Everyone is for purchase.
Literally the only
Like-
person that is maybe not as much partisan is a Supreme Court justice. And that's only because you can't buy their seat out from under them. And it's only because, right? They come in with ideals and all this other stuff. And they're still a little bit partisan.
Yeah.
We're very much so partisan.
Yeah.
And did you hear what they were underreporting in terms of like the actual numbers of unemployment numbers?
I saw something versus foreign and domestic workers that they had been underreporting the difference in job, like 1.8 million jobs lost for native born workers versus 2 million jobs gained for foreign born workers over the last 2 years. Something like this.
They also basically they were saying I think it was 820,000 or 819,000 or something. They were reporting that there were $819,000 more employed people than there actually was, which when you look at the grand scheme of it, it was close to 25 to 30% that they were
So
reporting.
the jobs growth data that the administration is currently running on, that the democratically elected primary Democrat is running on, that also I love this game that she's playing. I don't know how she thinks this is going to work in the modern age of knowledge. She gets to play this game of like, well, I'm not in office. Well, I'll fix these problems. Well, you're in office right the fuck now. Like, why haven't you? And then they go, if Trump's reelected, he'll be, you know, a dictator and throw people in gulags. It's like, wasn't he in office? I don't remember any gulags.
Yeah.
Like,
the whole thing
just
to
so
me is
silly.
like, how long can you run campaigns on saying the problems you'll fix and not fixing one of them?
I mean, I think that's been a constant in politics for like ever.
Yeah,
but
yeah, you might be right.
I don't know if it. Okay, let's like really think back, because Reagan, like or not like, and even even Bush won. Like, they delivered on the promises and Clinton did too.
Well, yeah, and I also think what you're talking about too, about how like, I don't know, you have Kamala who like comes across, you know, I think a little bit less than authentic, and then Trump he's just Trump.
An ass.
Yeah.
Just a huge ass.
But in this like impeachment series or whatever, it was interesting because obviously, you know, Clinton was dishonest, he committed perjury and whatnot, but people were more mad that he lied about it and wasn't like authentic about it.
Yeah, because he was like the most charismatic person that's
When
ever
he
lived.
was like, I never had relations, like the most pure lying statement. Anyone our age can look at that and be like, he's bullshitting.
Yeah,
But like
cap.
they had like think groups going back into this of like, well, you know, if he told the truth, like he's a man, you know, it actually makes him more like a person now, you know, like people feel like
he's a human being.
they could relate
Because
to
they were like,
the most
and
important
back then it was
person.
like, look at her, like any guy and half the females would have been like, yeah, I would have too. Like,
Also, a lot of people are also
you think Monica Lewinsky's attractive?
Back then
in that
it was
era,
the big craze.
that's
Everyone
like,
thought she
that was
was.
Sydney Sweeney.
That was a big
That was
thing.
Sydney Sweeney
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah,
Right?
and it
Am I
might
wrong?
have been because of the story, but yeah,
She's not
that's what
unattractive.
I heard.
Her hairstyle was a little questionable.
It's hard for
but,
us to look back at like their crazy 80s style or whatever and be like, oh yeah, she's hot, but like,
This
no,
is
of course
like
she's pretty. But,
95.
So,
oh right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It
to
was like
one.
a
Same thing.
leftover 80s style in the 90s. Yeah.
Two
Whatever.
things about that time in history that I read that I think are fascinating. One, that they never would have gotten caught if laundry was done properly. Like that there was a fall through on some sort of laundry cleaning that led to the discovery of this
They
affair.
were supposed to like smell the sheets or something?
No. It was she didn't get
a dress that was
she was wearing this
on a dress.
She was wearing this dress that to some event that she went to, and they went into like the back office off of the Oval Office, and he had this thing where he was like, they like truly did not have like sex. They had everything up to it. And so that's where he thought he could get away with saying, I did not have sexual relations with her, because in the Paula Jones deposition,
because he's right.
The Paula Jones lawyers handed him a definition of what sexual relations was, and it didn't match what he did with Monica, because it wasn't like, penis and vagina sex. It was like everything else. And when he said it in the deposition, I did not, I did not sleep with Monica Lewinsky. He was technically, and this is why people were so angry with him afterwards, was he was saying he was telling the truth.
He was being a lawyer.
But he was lying through technicality.
He was being a lawyer.
It was such a political way to go about it. Imagine being like Monica and him, and like you're fooling around, whatever, and he's like, we can't do that because I have to be able to say. It's like such a political like scumbag thing.
And he said too, he wasn't going to like finish or whatever, and that's how he was getting away. So like after she would leave, he would like jerk off into the trash can or something. But this one instance, he like gave her a hug, I guess, and it was a while before they seen each other, and like they were making out or whatever they were doing, and he finished, and like a tiny little stain got on her dress. She thought at first, because she went to go to like a Mexican restaurant with her friends afterwards, she thought it was like guacamole or like sour cream, and then she like gets back and she was like, well, she was talking to Linda Tripp, and they're like, well, why haven't you cleaned this? Are you keeping this as like a token?
Trophy,
And she was like, no, I mean, you know how it is when you have a lot of dry cleaning. You're not going to take one thing to get dry cleaned. You're going to take, a whole bundle of stuff when you need to wear a certain item that is dry clean only. So she was keeping it in the corner until she built up her dry cleaning basket and was planning to take it in. But then Linda Tripp convinced her that she looked heavy in the dress because she was going to wear it to this interview. And so she's like, no, you shouldn't wear that dress. You look heavy. And she was like really insecure about that.
Always
so
women invalidating women.
Yeah. So she decided to
crabs
wear
in a bucket.
a different suit and didn't dry clean the dress. And then shortly after that, Linda gave over the illegal tape evidence because she was taping all their phone calls to provide proof, because her intent was to write a book eventually. And then she had to cut a deal because in Maryland, it was a 2-party consent state. She couldn't record the calls. That's why she didn't end up writing a book until like 2020 about it, right before she died. Was because she was then a witness for the prosecution to get an immunity deal.
Yeah. Laundry. Just do your laundry. And the second thing is Hillary Clinton, after finding out about this Monica Lewinsky situation, allegedly didn't have sexual relations of any kind with Bill, like would not even talk to him for 8 months until she said, you need to bomb Syria. You need to bomb Yemen. Bomb the fuck out of Yemen. It'll get me super horny. And he bombed Yemen and they had sex. I'm serious. Like that night. It's reported in a book. Yeah. That's what gets Hillary going.
I believe it.
Kids die from drones.
Well, too, there was always that suspicion that she was sleeping with like one of the White House counsel attorneys. Who ended up killing himself like right before all of this Monica.
Three gunshots to the back of the head.
Have I told you
Vince Foster?
Did you see? You haven't seen the book? Coming out with a book. We're trying to turn it around in time for election season. I probably told you about this idea way back when because I had this idea 5 years ago.
Okay,
but I'll show you the cover.
Yeah, that's me and my brother's favorite jokes, like suicide by 3 gunshot heads wounds to the head.
Boom, boom, boom.
So do you remember 2016? That election, there was a book came out, Reasons to Vote for Democrats. by Michael Knowles. He ended up going to the Daily Wire. It was blank bound pages. It had a quote from Ben Shapiro on it.
Okay,
Anyway,
yes.
this is the book that we're publishing this election season. It's blank bound pages.
This book.
Things Trump knows best.
And that's it.
It's blank bound page, essentially blank bound pages with chapter titles and everything. But
That's
there's a
so
whole
funny.
there's a whole physical meme market that this idea has opened me up into. Like,
oh, really? Yeah.
well, because like there's a generation that's grown up on memes, but there's no physical like jokes, memes. This is like a physical meme.
joke. Yeah.
And like a physical joke you could do that if you want to ever, like if I want to commit suicide by Clintons, like it's like suicide by police, but you just use the Clintons.
yeah.
I publish a book,
Boeing
Friends of
together.
the Clintons that haven't died by suicide, blank bound pages.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Okay.
you know,
There
3
was
weeks.
a huge
You're out.
list of people.
Oh my
huge list of
gosh.
people. But I think like he was authentic in most ways. The people who just pissed off at him was because he lied and committed perjury. But it sounded like almost if he told the truth, he would actually have been okay.
Fine, yeah.
But
He would've been a baller.
that kind of goes back to, the interest in Trump is that like people see somebody who like clearly the man doesn't have a filter. He has to be authentic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people are craving something like that other
Yeah.
than,
just tell
the
us how it
BS.
is. Like, we
Yes.
don't want the robotic, like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I saw one today that was really top tier of a Trump. Oh yeah, this.
Democrats. Ooh, there was a mosquito. I don't want mosquitoes around me. I don't like mosquitoes. I don't like those mosquitoes. I never did. Okay, speaking of mosquitoes.
Did somebody scream
Hello,
Hillary in the
Hillary.
background?
Hello, Hillary. He goes, speaking of mosquitoes, hello, Hillary.
Yeah, the guy.
Just in the pot. He's a stand-up as
oh
much as he
my
is a
god,
politician.
dude. And because when you aren't a robot and you're just speaking,
Yeah.
you can say stuff like that.
I mean, that's like literally him. That's him in the pocket. Like, I don't like mosquitoes. That's him in the pocket. It's exactly the same as like a stand-up that's like in the pocket, just like fucking just grinding them
That's
out,
right.
like riffing, just hitting everything.
Yeah. So my prediction for this election is third party's going to do the best they've ever done.
Yep.
And I'll be
Agreed.
right there pushing it. The only problem with third party is
Thank God RFK did what he did, though. Well,
What-
I want RFK to be
what
the
do
head
you
of the
mean?
FDA.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
I want Trump.
Was
I
it
want
the
Trump.
CIA thing, or what are you referring to?
Well, the fact that he dropped out and endorsed Trump.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that
yeah.
Trump's like, I want him in a position where he can make a change in government, because that
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
cleaned up our waters and airs. That he
Yeah.
started his career actually caring about
That's
American,
That's the Kennedy's thing,
right?
And then
Yeah.
you do too much.
Yeah,
And then,
you can't care too much.
other
You can't
things,
care too. So
So if he's like FDA
Yeah.
or like like health and human services, whatever,
Would do
that
a
kind
lot.
of that would be huge for us.
so I want like the Libertarian Party. So just to like put my point out there,
Mhm.
but the
You're a good
problem
classical
is
liberal like me.
Yeah, classical, exactly.
Classical liberal, the OG libs.
The OG, we want the left like
Little L
ideals, and then kind of the like right economics.
Don't be dumb with money.
Yeah, no,
We
But,
clearly didn't have an opposition on this podcast because I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure we're
yeah.
all on the same page on
but
that one.
so my problem is if they
Classical
do,
liberal roundtables. The name of this episode.
if they do get into a position where they have a little bit of say, a little bit of power, is like, are they just going to become corrupt also?
Oh, yeah.
And then 3-party corruption's way harder to track than 2-party corruption. So it's like, but we got to try.
We're kind of
I
screwed
think.
by our system. The whole single member district plurality kind of screws up where
Yeah.
all the representation goes to the winner.
Well, the one other thing about how we're set up is everyone, because it's like you said, like a reality TV show, everyone loves to talk about the president. It's like, they don't do shit.
Nothing.
You have to go vote on like Congress and like just every
Yes.
and local politics.
Oh, man.
Local politics is gonna have way more effect on us.
And it takes way longer for you to educate yourself about local. I don't know shit about local politics.
Yeah.
I'd have to go out of my way to
because
get up to
CNN's not
speed.
going to be telling you about that.
Well,
They're
I'm not
just-
listening to CNN.
You know
but-
what I mean. That's my point.
No, but yes, or Fox, or any of them.
Right.
It's
No.
just silly.
Neither.
But even like if you go to like the local news channels, like
Yes.
I feel like most of it's
Mhm.
like, or at least even as much as I was growing up, it was like a lot about weather and stuff
you know
like,
what,
and they're like a slight tidbit on like, oh, it's
Venezuelan
time to
gangs
vote.
have taken over
You know,
the
like
apartment
a
complex
quick
in
little,
Aurora.
you have a 15-minute segment to talk about politics real
Yeah.
quick locally,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
it's not a whole lot. And I think the tough thing is too is like nobody has cable. this day. Like
Oh,
these
yeah.
days. Like
That's a good
everything
point.
is streaming.
Yeah, where on Netflix can I watch the local?
Disney
politics?
Disney Plus has ABC Worldwide News now.
Okay,
And
yeah.
I was like turning on Simpsons to go to bed the other night, and I was like, I don't want to watch David Muir.
Yeah, Disney must own them then.
No,
right?
oh yeah,
'Cause they
Disney owns
the world.
ABC. I've got a good joke. I'll give it to you.
Okay, you see, Disney bought like all Vail resorts. Vail,
What?
yeah,
Yeah, dude.
Vail owns like resorts in Japan.
Yeah.
Vail basically owns Utah now. They own half of Colorado.
And Disney
Disney
bought
owns Vail.
Yeah, Disney owns
So
Vail.
Disney owns Vail, Utah,
There's like
Japan,
5
or whatever.
companies that own all the
Ski
foods we
resorts.
eat. Like all of them.
Oh, it's insane.
The joke
Yeah.
is, I like the Olympics. So imagine I'm on a stage with my phone. There's an actual
Yeah,
crowd. I like the Olympics. Those things just happened. But I like the Olympics for kind of a weird reason, I think. It's a great time to learn which TV networks are owned by what mega corporate conglomerate. Like, I don't know who owns the E network until I flip on volleyball. Start watching. I get invested. Listen to the commenters to learn about sports I don't know so much about. You know, get into it. They're like, bump, set, Rockefeller. NBC, who knew?
I feel like that'll like a lot of people
Won't get it.
Fly over their
Most
head,
of my
yeah.
fucking jokes are
I was listening
too stupid.
I think it was your last released episode, and that was one of the things you talked about. Is like good comedians aren't necessarily popular comedians.
Oh, yeah.
It's like if you're the best comedian, you're like a
Oh, Dave Attell.
comics
yeah,
comedian.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Dave Attell is
No,
the
I don't know
best
who that
comic
is.
on earth. You don't even know who he
No.
is. You would be pissing yourself if you were at a show.
Yeah,
Like literally
Yeah.
crying the whole time through.
That's
He
so
doesn't
funny.
take your foot off your neck for 45 minutes to an hour.
yeah.
Just quick jokes, one after another. Boom, boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom,
yeah.
boom, boom, like a magician. It's
That's
crazy.
Yeah, and I've never.
You don't even know who he is.
No.
Yes.
Why
And
is
I mean, a lot of people don't know these like comics because those type of dudes don't give a fuck
yeah.
about
They're not going
the
to say what
money
you
or the
want.
bag or
Yeah.
or brandability or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, dude wants to smoke cigarettes and show up to the show and make people that worked. Okay, here's an example of a story
Yeah.
from Dave Attell. That another comic told me when I was in Austin. He was in Austin for a show at, I think it was another club on 6th Street. And there was like a football player, an NFL player that had come from the Cowboys to try to come to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked to be sat in the front. And the club owner had to go to the green room with this door staff that was telling me this and asked Dave Attell, hey, this Cowboys player wants to sit up front. Should we move someone? Like, should we put this VIP table? Should we put him there? He goes, no, fuck that person. Give those to some guy that's worked all week long. Like,
Yeah.
Dave Attell does comedy for blue collar third shift workers.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
people.
Like, for the people. Yeah.
That's
That's the type of thing I like,
yeah.
because I started in a fucking basement club in the Midwest, and it was the laughs were louder there than they are here because those people need to laugh.
Right.
Wherever the best comedy is, wherever people need to laugh.
Interesting.
I will always believe. So usually, typically, blue cities in red states are some of the best places to do comedy in America.
Wow.
Because if
So
it's
Austin?
a red state
Yeah,
and a
Austin.
blue city, it's money.
Fascinating.
Which Colorado, Denver used to be.
Yeah.
Which Denver kind of still technically, I think, falls into because so much of the state outside of the metro area is red.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you just
Yeah.
have cities that have grown so much over the last 25 years that there's no getting it back to a red state
Yeah,
ever.
yeah,
It's going to
yeah.
be blue because of population.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Fuck, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, that is fascinating that like the real that's what it was gonna be, is like the real comedians. You go to Dave Attell, is it?
Yeah.
You go to him and it's like Netflix, like, hey, we want you to come record that special, but will you cut that one joke out?
Oh, you'll like this about Dave.
And he'll be like,
He did a special.
fuck yourself.
You'll have to watch this special because so Netflix goes, Dave's the type of guy like, hey, suck my dick, Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix came to him with obviously a bag and was like,
Right.
"Dude, we want to put your special on Netflix and not
Yeah.
on somewhere else. Like, don't put this on YouTube or whatever." And he goes, all right, yeah, that's fine. And then he shoots it. And he's the type of guy where like, not an ounce of fluff. Don't you dare have like a cutaway to a crowd shot or not. There's no fluff on this. So it ends up coming out at like 36.40. And Netflix goes, hey, it's got to be, or it's like 38. It's got to be 45 minutes or you're not getting a check. So Dave Attell, instead of doing more material or something else, films himself at the San Diego pier with his recorder, just playing to the seals for 6 minutes.
That's
and it has a timer on the screen of his special, counting down as he's playing, and he goes, "Have a good night, thanks." That's the comics
so
comic.
funny.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's okay. I'll have to watch it then.
Fuck you! I'm not gonna do another 5 minutes. Play my
That's so funny. Yeah, he's like, the set's perfect.
Yeah,
I'm not changing that. That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, are you still feeling old and frail, or are you as hot as I am right now?
It's warm.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
let's take a brief break. Pause. We'll get a drink in our hand, and we'll use the restroom and come back for the hiding.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right.
Perfect.
You're listening to 91.1. Oh shit! Was that another plane? We'll be right back.
It's funny because it was going so
We're back.
slow.
We're live.
We're okay
Just
without the
jumping
5
back in.
seconds.
Oh, we don't need 5 seconds. What do you do? I don't know what you're talking about, by the way. We're back. We're live from this point on.
5 seconds.
It's the after our show. And we're enjoying these lovely Bloody Marys. Thank you, Allie.
Yeah.
So
Lovely.
good.
I love
Okay,
'em.
so along with pickle shots, I might be crazy, but I want to try inventing. Maybe someone has them out there, but banana pepper shots.
Ooh, you
Honestly,
can do the same thing,
sounds
right?
so
As
good.
peppercini.
I'm obsessed
Yeah.
with banana peppers.
I love banana peppers. They're so good.
Mm-hmm.
How many different
70,000
random things we could make shots out
I
of?
know. Yeah.
Jalapeno shots, habanero shots.
Those sound tough to
Yeah.
sound tough to swallow. But
I
you
mean,
could make
also
them. You could make them.
pickle shots before I had a pickle shot, and peppercini shots before I had one of them. They sounded weird to me too, and then I had it. And I'm like, this is the best version of alcohol ever. Like, mainly because I'm a person who does not like strong. Well, I love gin, but like other than that, I don't like
Gin,
the taste
vodka,
like alcohol.
tequila.
There it is.
Other than that,
mimosas.
I'm really not a big
I mean,
drinker.
whiskey is done
I'm
right.
not a big drinker. I'm not a big drinker, but yeah.
If it smells like shit,
Yeah.
it tastes like shit,
Well,
it might be shit.
You like the fruitier
No,
side
well,
of the tip,
not
or
as-
not as much?
not as much
Wow.
anymore,
Very
but like,
demure. Very much.
have you like recently started to like, you know how they say like anytime there's sugar in a drink it like makes your hangover or something worse?
So
Like
bad.
I tested that theory so hard in college and I'm like, I'm fine. And now that I'm like a century old,
the rule's not
I-
for 20 year
I
olds.
know. I
A
had
century older.
I had like literally 2 beers and 2 pickle shots yesterday, and I woke up this morning like I was dead, like a dead
Dead.
person. Yeah, I like my brain was
It's
pulsing.
miserable.
It's awful.
Well, I don't. I just don't drink. My new thing. I've been cutting some weight, and the way
You look great, by
You
the
do.
way.
I appreciate you.
I-
I wasn't trying to dig
No,
for a
I-
compliment there, so
No,
apologies.
and I should have said something
No.
because I
I'm
saw
down.
you and it was like
I've-
I couldn't even say something. I was
we got some
starstruck.
great fans of the show that are very supportive and kind people. They listen, so maybe they actually do give a shit enough for me to care and say this because I apologies if you don't give a shit. I was like 330 at my biggest, I think around 4-ish years ago.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm now right around 258.
wow.
255 was
Damn.
my lowest. I got a little bit back from
Sure.
drinking in Austin because
Sure.
I drank while I was in Austin. But
Yeah. That's awesome.
So
'Cause that's the main
Let's go.
pastime,
yeah,
I love
it's
to
good
hear
for
that.
the body.
I love
feeling
to hear
better.
that.
Yeah, getting stronger. Trying to.
Do you feel better?
Well, it's just because I couldn't do comedy. I wouldn't have been able to do comedy. Like I wasn't doing
Yeah.
mics for 2 years that I wanted to be doing mics because of my back. I
Yeah.
Yeah.
couldn't fucking sit around
Right.
and wait and
Right.
stand and all that shit. So.
Interesting.
I was
Very
so
cool.
worried about you at one point with your back before
Oh
you
my-
had surgery.
It's-
I don't even know
It's-
if you were you there
During chronic pain,
when I was
but
like bent over, like
at times,
yeah,
but
so brutal.
chronic pain is the scariest because
Mhm.
it's a mental battle. Like I always tell people, I'd rather break if I could break a bone and have it like only hurt for a second, which sometimes it only does. I'd rather break a bone than have like a toothache.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding because a toothache lasts like 2 days till you have your appointment. It's like that chronicness
Yes.
is just whatever it is. It's just hell.
I had gotten
Yeah.
to the point where it was
But-
just I was telling my doctor, like, hey, we got to have a procedure here because it's affecting my ability to want to like keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was already fighting and through that battle, and it took most of my existence to that point. So I'm not going back to that. We got to make something happen here. So it's so good to be mindful now and feel well.
Yeah.
That's your word, isn't it? Exactly.
It's the theme of the episode. We're trying to be topical.
Yeah, I'm trying to be
By
topical.
the time this comes out, it'll be a month late, right? So it'll be super.
Let's
be
try
so
to guess.
undemure. We'll be so undemure.
Yeah,
what
let's
will
come
the
up with the
phrase be?
word. Yeah, fire. That's fire.
Oh, that's
I think it'll be like
what year did that came out? Yeah.
I think it'll be like a sound clip from the debate. I think there's a good. That's a good guess. So something that Trump or Kamala says that can be used in a meme form. So maybe like a Kamala, like, don't listen to him, like, cause she goes like deep into that voice, for a
just
portion.
like that.
I mean, have you heard her speak in like Ohio, and she thinks this is like Mississippi? I think someone confused her notes. She had 2 speeches in one day. One of the speeches she's speaking one way, and then she's speaking a whole other way. It's like, okay, yes, code switching is a thing. Understand? I obviously do that myself, and it is a thing that everybody does. But when you're running and trying to be authentic and get votes, it's probably not a good political move. It's probably a surface level iceberg political move. Nah, if you think a little deeper, people don't want to vote for that kind of crap.
Back to earlier, it just comes across phony.
Phony, thank you. That's better.
She's a phony.
So it's probably going to be, with that said,
It's a good sound.
Trump's probably going to say something that's more viral, has more virality at it. So what could Trump say?
His are so often that one doesn't stick.
One to stick
it's
out.
just the next week
Good
it's
point.
something else.
Great point.
And I don't think you can ever predict. I actually
It's a great thought
kind
experiment.
of admire him for it. I'm not a Trump fan by any means, but it's like I never know what's going to come out of his mouth. He is like the actual definition of unpredictable chaos. Like you don't know, and I think that's half why it's so entertaining. Is like, what is he going to say
he
next?
knows. To Sean's earlier point, he's just authentic. It's like the mosquito. He's in the pocket.
Him, yeah. He's like toiling with the muse actively with a microphone in his face. He's like the muse is like on his shoulder, guiding him to like in the pocket, like of what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like the mosquitoes are coming. He's like, I don't like mosquitoes.
He got
Get
the
these
like.
mosquitoes out of here. Like
It's a political position at this point. Kill all the mosquitoes. 2024.
He's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to get on mic. I don't run for president. Gets on mic once and just has the like comedic itch. He's like, I gotta get back up there.
For real.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Gotta get another rally. I gotta rally. He's like addicted to rallying, dude. This guy.
Storm the. I can't say that. It's definitely gonna be a random meme that goes viral next. Like you can't predict Hawk Tua. Like how could
you could have totally predicted Hawk Tua.
Okay,
in
tell me
hindsight, of course you could have predicted
No. Okay, hang on. The basis of Hawk Tour is woman talking about sex on a street clip goes viral. That's predictable enough, right? The specificity of it, sure, I can't tell you that.
And
like,
I guess that's what I'm saying.
Okay. We're
never gonna hit
here.
the phrase.
So we got to pick the right number on the roulette table.
Exactly. You might pick
I can't do red or black. That's
the
not going to
color,
work.
right?
We can't do that. That's not that impressive.
That's my point.
Yeah,
to say the exact word or.
We're trying to be more mindful.
Did you say?
After all, I mean,
I can't believe you said that. That was so like mid.
Oh my
September.
God. Just wake me up when it ends.
Early
Just wake me up.
Oh God.
You're starting to sound like that one. There's this one video that it's like older millennial boss trying to talk to her like Gen Z hires. And she's like that you guys really slayed that presentation. Man, this work week is mid. It's mid. I have the video still or something like that. Like you guys really you slayed the competition. You slayed them. God. Like it's so funny.
It's like,
and Matt's been trying to do it too at work recently. He was like, that was a slay. And I'm like, thank you, Matt. Okay.
I love that.
I feel
that's so funny.
Let's go.
There's a substitute teacher went viral. he gets a list of words before the class, before like in the summer before his class starts, and he convinces his kids that like these sayings are like in, but it's random words. Like it's like, it's hard to even come up with one.
Like Tootie.
Yeah, he'll be like, "Oh, that shit's tootie," and like he'll tell his kids that's like a big thing.
Tootie's
Like,
in.
yeah, and it means like shitty. It's just like that's tootie, and he tries to convince his kids. That's what we're doing right now, trying to predict the next viral.
I mean,
It could truly be anything. That like I never saw mid coming. I never saw slay coming.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember like when
Riz
the
for
bomb.com was a thing?
Yeah.
Like middle school,
we're
like
stuck
you're
at like
the bomb.com.
We're stuck at like dude
Yeah.
and
bro.
Like, cool.
Yeah.
Bro.
Maybe it'll be like something like edgy. Someone will try to do something like edgy and political.
I ironically say slaps.
Slaps, dude.
You're saying it'll be something edgy?
I mean, maybe like I'm just trying to come up with something here. Like 26 on the board looks like an edgy political statement to me, like where someone's like unify or tries to go like against, you know, I'm trying to think of like, you know, Riz comes from charisma. Like
Riz
how would United States, maybe they do like a ununited or, you know, like a dis-night or, you know, whatever type of vibe, something like that.
Yeah.
Like this night, you know, are you voting? Not this night, you know. You know, like
if that actually
put $10 on 26 with me, would you? Come on, guys. Fucking we're gambling.
Who decides that these become a thing?
No,
you know what I mean?
I'm fascinated by virality, and I've kind of, you know, just studied it a little bit, but it's hard to study too. Yeah, can't really like. It's hard to quantify and study virality, but and the reason behind it, because it's so intersectional to human psychology and you know, marketing and probably algorithms of these social platforms too.
Yeah,
in a big way.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
That's why like the 9/11 memes came back for a while. Like they got hot, and it's like whatever people joke about, and like they send to each other. It's like Instagram or whatever platform is just going to pump those out because people are interacting. Which
because it's
helps.
always listening.
Right. Always.
So we should also keep our ear to the ground.
I love Instagram.
I mean, listen, we love Instagram here at Top Shelf.
Do you guys think that like the PC's coming backwards now? Like we got like so PC that we're like all sick of it, and we're like, okay.
Oh, people are been sick of it for a while. Yeah.
I was just wondering. I talked about this earlier.
I think it's come down to like almost the radical religious sect of where like there are these like going to be people that are like leftist, whatever, or far rightist, offended by, you know, jokes about whatever X topic on either side politically because they tie it to a religion now, as we brought up earlier. And because of that tie, now these two sects of people are always going to think this way and not grow from this, you know, surface level ideological thinking and understanding. They really don't understand the concepts to a deep level. They don't understand themselves or their beliefs. They don't, but they get offended at it when it's attacked.
Yeah. So it's like the people who are on polar sides, which, I mean, frankly, though, I don't know what you guys think, but I feel like most people in America are really getting closer to the middle now. And then you have like a very loud minority on either side of the spectrum that's just very loud, so it sounds like there's like a higher participation on either side.
You were talking about that earlier, like they're like he was saying, like I believe that they're trying to separate us, not think we're all the same, but like you step out of your house and have a conversation with a random person and you find out you're so similar.
Can I tell the story really quick?
We're all the same.
We got to get out of here. But I won't remember the story and be able to tell it on the podcast to tell right now because it happened after recording previously, like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Get a knock on my door. What the hell? Go answer the door. Very nice old black woman at the door. First thing she says to me, "Hi there. I'm just going around asking people how we can become united, the United States, because I think we should be United States. What do you think? Do you think we should be United States?" I go, "Yes, ma'am, I do. I think that's a good ideal." And I talked to this woman for like 10 minutes, whatever. She's a radio host, has a Justice Radio shout out. I think her email was something like after 1776 at gmail.com, which I was like, that's something like that. You snag that? So it's like this black woman is like worried about the rift that it would seem in our country. She's so much older, has lived so much more of her life in this country than I have. Like, man, if I could sit down with her and talk to her, man, how valuable could that be for people like me that don't know any, we can think we know anything, but we don't know nothing compared to that lady like this, right? And the fact that she's going around door to door, whether she's trying to sell stickers or postcards or her radio, whatever it be, and she's just trying to spread a good message on the initial front, that's awesome to see. And so if I could encourage people to do anything through this election season, it's just try to get out and away from your phone and realize that you're more like other people than you are led to believe by our political landscape.
Look out your window.
Yeah.
Don't look out your window. Go outside the window and talk to the people you
That's
see.
what I mean. Don't look at the TV. Look at it.
I think the biggest thing too, and I honestly think you told me this one time, and I think about it all the time. But
you said,
the idea of like, you're not that, you're just not that important.
You're
you know what I mean?
Special.
And yes, exactly like that.
Yeah.
And it's not like, it's not that I don't have special things about me. And it's not to say like to make somebody feel bad, but I think we get most fired up, about things, and that creates that divide across people. And it's like your opinion, what you're doing, all that stuff, it's just not that important. What's important is coming together as a community. And I think like, not like major names, a lot of stuff, it was not possible without a collective. It's not an individual success, it's the collective success. And I think we get so focused on like me, and what makes everything, like what makes me unique. It really should be like, what do I have in common with where can I find commonality with somebody? Yes. And that goes back to like, talking to somebody to understand rather than be understood.
Yeah. It's funny how all our ideas are like tying in. Like this is
it's called beautiful. That's called beautiful wrap of a well-driven podcast. I think
did we stick to your script? Well,
I don't know. I don't have a script, man. I just drive the car.
Oh shit! Was there a script?
Yeah, exactly. He handed us the script.
I used to do scripts or like think about questions, and then I realized the best question I could ask a guest 15 minutes into a podcast is about something they tell me 10 minutes into a podcast, and so you can never outplan that.
Right.
Being in the moment, being in the pocket.
Yeah. And
being mindful and demure.
Very demure.
After all. The most important thing.
Bring back demure.
To be, which will be 3-4 weeks ago by now that you're seeing this.
This giant stick reminds me.
Have you guys heard of England?
Never heard of it.
Never. Yeah. Loser country. Anyway, they knight people there. Silly little thing they do.
What?
Here at Top Shelf Studios. I have a long form conversation.
I've been
with my guest.
I've been hided.
You've been hided? What do you remember what your previous hiding was?
Oh, it was probably 6'9".
Yeah, something like that. You seem big hearted. Allie, how tall do you stand physically?
5 foot. That's personal information. I didn't need to be released, but whatever.
I heart height thee, Allie Holland.
This is
6 foot.
Wow.
Plus 12 inches of heart height differential. Remember, it's the differential, folks, not the overall score.
That reminded me of Bo Peep.
I don't want to curse you with like a 6'7" woman. That'd be a tough heart to walk around with.
Yeah.
You'd be very caring in this world as a woman.
Honestly, I feel like my life would have been a lot different if I was 6 foot. Maybe I could have made it past middle school basketball. I don't know.
You wouldn't have been a softball catcher, that's for sure.
You'd just be dunking on Caitlin Clark.
I wouldn't have like almost died from being a softball catcher if I was 6 foot.
Yeah.
They are apparently taller. I just didn't believe anybody until I got absolutely wrecked.
Well, Teke, I agree with my previous score that you're a large-heighted man at 6'9". You're what, 6 foot?
No.
Easy 6 foot.
It's
right
hard
here.
for you to
Ladies,
tell. It
6
just like
foot easy.
looks down at the top of our heads. He's like, "How tall are you?"
No, you're like I always don't. I don't really like to miss.
Yeah. No,
Fuck
I'm like 5'9".
5'9".
Yeah.
See, that's tall.
So he's got. So you're both.
You're 5
hang on.
feet,
So
so
you're both
no,
plus 12 inches heart
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah.
differential.
We
Wow.
have
Yeah.
the
How about that?
foot of
Love when things
heighted.
work out.
Yeah.
Well, where can the people find you? You said you wanted to shout out. You got a couple seconds here if you heard.
At the Lawn Guy, Colorado. No. No, I don't get on social, so don't find me.
Yeah.
Don't find her either.
You know, I've been off of that for like 6 months.
They've
so.
been off the stuff.
Yeah.
You can get off it too if you try
You can
hard
only
enough.
find us here.
If you find the Lord and Savior, you too can get off the stuff.
You have to wait.
Speaking of this stuff, like and subscribe if you want more of the show. You can check it out at patreon.com/intolerable. By the time this comes out, either I'll be hung in the public square or I'll have more content posted to Patreon because I'm behind. But I appreciate your supporters' understanding. And yeah, we've been making big moves. Got up at the Comedy Mothership. It's been, did a good trip to Austin. And just overjoyed to do a pod with you. Thanks for catching up with
Thanks
you guys.
for having
Thanks
me
for
on
having
here.
us.
A pleasure.
It's
We gotta do it
awesome.
more often.
Well, yeah, so I guess you can just find me in like 100 more episodes.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
And
So-
Allie too.
2 more
Yeah, I
years
figured,
down the
yeah,
road.
you
Yeah.
will.
No, sooner than that. All right, fuck off and be well.